Hey everyone, Slasher Scotty here, and welcome to another episode of the Rankings video. But before we get into all of the business jazz, let me tell you something a little personal. My behind-the-scenes cameraman asked me if I was ready, and you know what I said? I'm ready, Freddy. Get it? Because right now we are about to rank the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. So now you get it. Ready, Freddy, Freddy Krueger, you know. Okay, you guys are, you don't laugh at my jokes. But okay, anyways, let's get back to the good stuff. So yes, that's right, we are ranking the 9 A Nightmare on Elm Street films, and I cannot wait to get into this because Freddy Krueger is one badass killer. So, for those that don't know, Freddy Krueger, he is a child murderer. Now you're going to be saying to me, well, isn't Freddy a child molester? No, he is not. He is a child murderer because it was supposed to be child molester, but they changed it due to the child molestation sting in Los Angeles back at the time of production. So yes, he is a child murderer, and in the 2010 reboot, it was changed to child molester. Let's clear that up because a lot of people argue with me on that, and I'm sick of correcting you all. So watch this video and you can see what I'm saying. Alright, so before we get into ranking these killer videos, let me get into some details, some juicy details, some juicy beats. So, okay, you want to subscribe to this channel, right? I mean, why not? You love me, my humor, corny humor, but you love it. So subscribe to this channel. Please do so, and share everything about this channel all over social media and everything, because we want to bring everybody who loves horror and slasher movies to Slasher Scotty. Don't forget to hit that bell notification icon, because every time I post videos, you want to be notified when they're posted. So please hit that bell notification icon. And of course, like and comment down below if you like what you see. Your rankings might be different from mine, which brings me to my next point. This channel, Slasher Scotty, especially the ranking videos and the newly top 10 videos, which I must say, I just posted my first episode today, the day we're filming. So check that out as well. But we have a golden rule here at Slasher Scotty, and that golden rule is, these are my personal opinions. And yes, I do care what your opinions are as well. So with that being said, if you disagree with my rankings, whether it's the order or whatever it must be, tell us why, and tell us the order of your rankings of all the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise films. Tell us in the comments below. So are you ready to rank the evil, the gloriously evil Freddy Krueger and all of the Nightmare on Elm Street films? Let's get over to my next studio and we'll find out which film ranks from 9 to 1. And this is going to be the worst of the worst and the best of the best. We're about to get into it. Let's go. Come on, follow me. Woo! Woo-hoo-hoo! Yeah! Oh yeah, Freddy's oh, that's right. Sorry, I'm on camera right now. This is embarrassing. Okay, anyways, yes, so number 9 on the rankings is Nightmare on Elm Street 2010, the reboot. So, why is this number 9, you ask? Oh, why you aren't asking. You all agree with me, I know that. Everybody agrees this one is the worst of the worst. Absolutely abhorrent. But yes, this movie is number 9 because, well, Robert Englund doesn't play Freddy Krueger. Now, no offense to the guy that does play Freddy Krueger. He did good for what he had, but yeah, Robert Englund is the real Freddy Krueger, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right? Or am I right? But on top of that, I mean, this did make Freddy more evil because they brought in the molestation that was supposed to be Freddy's original backstory. Remember, in 1984, when the original Nightmare on Elm Street was coming out, they were supposed to make Freddy Krueger a child molester, but they didn't because, well, there was a child molestation sting in Los Angeles, and they changed him to a child murderer. Well, this one, the 2010, redid that whole backstory and made him a child molester, which I believe is better because it makes him more frightening, scary, and evil. But I personally don't think they have the right Freddy. They really, really needed to have Robert Englund do the job. I mean, he had to. He didn't want it, and I respect his decision, but Robert Englund is Freddy Krueger. If I'm saying personally, I think he should have done the role. I really don't like this movie at all. There's not much to really talk about. To be honest with you, I watched it not even a full time through, and I had to turn it off. I just couldn't get into it. I really couldn't, and I just don't like this movie. I mean, what is there to say about it? If you like the movie, though, please tell us in the comments section. I would love to hear why you like this movie. What's the reason behind it? Because we all have different opinions, and I appreciate yours, and I respect your opinion, so please let us know in the comments. Overall, for me, this is the last on the list, and if this is a top 9 of the films, because there's only 9 of them, I would still make it 11 on the list, even though there's not 11 films, just because it's that bad. Sorry, not sorry. Number 8 on the rankings is Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. Now, yeah, a lot of people don't like this movie neither, and I personally agree. I mean, it's not that bad of a movie in my opinion, but the deaths are very bizarre. And, I mean, they're clever and creative, but they really weren't that great. Although I did like the death with the deaf guy where Freddy was mocking him because he was deaf and he took his hearing aid. That was actually pretty funny. No offense to people that are deaf, but I mean, I thought that was pretty funny. I mean, everybody thinks it is. But anyways, we all know Freddy wasn't really dead, and that's why this is also really far down on the list, because Freddy isn't dead. Yeah, they killed him off, but they brought him right back. I mean, he's a money hog. He brings in the cash to New Line Cinema, so why not keep bringing Freddy back, right? So yeah, Freddy did not die, technically. But I personally thought this movie was okay, and the cameos of Tom Arnold and Roseanne Barr was actually pretty cool as well. I thought that was pretty funny. A lot of people didn't care about it, but I mean, she was big in that, you know, the time this movie came out. And then of course we have the introduction of Freddy having a daughter, which was a twist on the backstory of Freddy Krueger, but I personally don't believe that they needed to give Freddy a child as well. But they did make him look like his ruling father, where the daughter found out, you know, saw Freddy, you know, killing, her mother, his wife, which I thought was a twist to his evilness as well. And she was played by the sister, the real-life sister of Billy Zane. Her name was Lisa Zane. And then, of course, you know, I love this part where Freddy, you know, they did the Wizard of Oz tribute, and Freddy's on his broomstick right while the house is up in a tornado in the sky in Dreamland or whatever, and Freddy's like, "I'll get you, my pretty, and your little soul too." Now that was awesome. But yeah, I thought this movie was okay. Could have been a lot better. It's definitely nowhere near as crappy as that 2010 reboot that I refuse to talk about. But I think this movie's okay, but it definitely doesn't deserve to be at the top, but does deserve to be at the bottom of this list. Number 7 on the list is Freddy vs. Jason. Wait a minute. I'm having a little bit of deja vu. Did I do Freddy vs. Jason? Oh, that's right. That was on the Friday the 13th rankings. We are on the Nightmare on Elm Street rankings, and of course, you can't have Freddy vs. Jason without, you know, of course, Jason Voorhees, who we did rank in, you know, the Friday the 13th, but also Freddy Krueger for this one. So yeah, you get him twice. Deal with it. So yeah, Freddy vs. Jason, I liked it. I mean, needed more character development in my honest opinion. The battle between Freddy and Jason was absolutely legendary. I loved it. Plus, I mean, I didn't mention this in the Friday the 13th rankings, so I figured I would mention it in this one. But they actually had a frickin' MMA weigh-in, or so to speak, or a press conference with Freddy and Jason in Los Angeles. How freaking cool is that? I mean, that's really, really cool. And, you know, they really had a good bloodbath. They had some teams, obviously, that you don't really care about. I mean, why would you? It's Freddy frickin' versus Jason. I mean, come on. Overall, do you get a winner? Depends who you ask. I mean, you have, you know, Freddy Krueger getting decapitated, and then he falls into the lake. And then you have Jason Voorhees also in the lake, nowhere to be found. But at the end of the movie, you get Jason Voorhees coming out of the lake holding the severed head of Freddy Krueger. And then, of course, you get a wink by Freddy Krueger, and then he laughs, and you think, okay, so Freddy's decapitated, but did he really lose? It depends who you ask. It could be a draw, it could be Jason who won, it could be Freddy who won. We'll never know, and we're apparently not getting a sequel. I mean, this movie came out in 2003. Overall, this movie is good and not bad. It definitely would have been lower on the list if we didn't get as epic of a battle that we got between the two slasher icons. So that's why I have to put it at this part of the list. But overall, I enjoyed the movie. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Number 6 on the rankings is A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. Okay, so this one isn't that bad. A lot of people really don't care about it. I personally can take it or leave it. I mean, it definitely, you know, could have been better for, you know, than what it was. Freddy didn't really go through people's dreams like Alice's dreams or anybody else's dreams. I mean, he did, but he didn't at the same time. He mostly went through Jacob's dreams, who is the unborn child of Alice currently in her womb. Ugh, insanity, right? And then I thought Freddy, this comic book kill was actually pretty cool, except Freddy kind of looked like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, if you ask me, which was kind of, I definitely didn't think that Freddy was cool. I mean, it didn't look that great, but whatever. Plus, fun fact, that wasn't Robert Englund playing him. I don't know the actor's name, I forget who it was, but I do know it was not Robert Englund playing Super Freddy. And then, also, I think Yvonne, yeah, I understand she had to find Amanda Krueger, and that's why she survived the movie, but I think she should have died at the end, if you ask me. I don't think she should have survived the movie. In my personal opinion, I think there should always be a final girl, and in this movie it was Alice, like she was in the fourth one. But, so I think Yvonne should have been, she should have kicked the bucket, if you ask me, but overall, I think it's a fun movie, but it definitely, deserves to be where it is on this rankings, if you ask me. Okay? Number 5 on the rankings is A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. So, this movie is all kinds of weirdness and out there, if I must say. And I'm not talking about for the way you're actually thinking. We're in 2021 as when this is filmed, and of course, homosexuality is very positive, and it's a great thing. Equality, go equality. I'm 100% for equality. One thing about this movie that strikes me as weird is that the writers wrote it as a very homoerotic Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, and they don't even admit it. And I interviewed a couple of people, and I'm going to put one of their interviews up there from this movie, that said that they knew personally when they got the script this was a homoerotic movie, and they just didn't, admit to it. They're like, oh, this is just a big coincidence. And I interviewed Robert Rusler and Marshall Bell, and up there in the right-hand corner, you're going to see who, you can click the card and you'll see the interview if you want to watch that interview and them talking about the movie. I personally enjoyed this movie, and I thought that the homoerotic undertones was actually pretty cool, to be honest with you. I thought it gave a new definition to not just the Nightmare on Elm Street, but overall in general to the slasher genre, which you don't get that often, which is a cool thing for the LGBTQ community, back in the 80s, which I thought was a thumbs up to them for that, if they really intended on doing that. You also had Coach Schneider, played by Marshall Bell, who I did interview. He was at the S&M bar, in all leather. It really had that undertone. I thought it was a good way to introduce this community to this, to a horror franchise. But overall, I thought the movie was okay. The one thing I really didn't like, which is why this movie isn't higher on the list, is more of Freddy doesn't really come to you in your dreams, so to speak. He does at times, but he really is in the real world, because he comes through Jesse, and he is in the real world. There's no bringing him into the real world from Dream World like you usually can. He's literally in the real world. He's at that, that pool party and killing everybody at the pool party. It just didn't sit well with me. It wasn't like it was a typical Nightmare on Elm Street. They wanted to try something different, and I believe, in my personal opinion, it failed. If they kept him in the Dream World, this movie would have been a lot higher on the list. But I put it where it is, and I ranked it a lot higher than it could have been because of taking the chance with the homoerotic LGBTQ angle that they did. And I thought that was a good, clever way to put a community that isn't really put into a horror franchise, and I thought they did it way ahead of their time, so thumbs up for that. Number 4 on the rankings is Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Wait a minute, wasn't Freddy just killed one movie ago? Oh right, I said in that one was ranked, Freddy doesn't die, right? This is kind of, proof that Freddy doesn't die. He keeps reeling in the big bucks, getting the fishing rod, reeling it in, bringing the money in, bringing that big bucks in. Freddy does. Nightmare on Elm Street, a great franchise, and obviously they couldn't keep Freddy dead, and I don't blame them. So they did it a little differently. Of course, Freddy, is stalking you in your nightmares, and they have Miko Hughes, which I met him in real life. He's a really cool guy. He was the kid that was terrified. They brought Heather Langenkamp back, but she wasn't playing Nancy Thompson, or she was to an extent. But she was as technically herself, Heather Langenkamp. They brought, John Saxon back as himself. They brought Robert Englund in as, Freddy Krueger, and as himself, Robert Englund. And I loved it. I thought Freddy was so freaking cute when they had him portrayed as Robert Englund coming out on the stage during the talk show segment, and he was in Freddy costume, and he was, having a good time, being all giggly and laughy. I thought that was so adorable. So good. I think Robert Englund is such a cute dork. I'm sorry, I love him. But I thought that was really cool and funny. And I thought this Freddy was probably the most scariest, evilest, most horrifying Freddy ever in all the Nightmare on Elm Street films. He was just, from the way he dressed, to the burns on his face, to the way Robert Englund portrayed him, to the kills, to everything, and mimicking the death of Tina from the first movie was done even more brilliantly in this one than it was when it was originally done. So Wes Craven bringing this back, thumbs up to that. I guarantee you this movie will be, is in my opinion, definitely in the top 5. Well, obviously, because it's where it's ranked, but everybody else is still talking about it. A very underrated, Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, if you ask me. Number 3 on my rankings, that's right, we are in the top 3, and that is A Nightmare on Elm Street for the Dream Master. Now, for this movie's okay. I really enjoy this movie. I really, really do, and a lot of people actually do. And we get obviously the introduction to Alice Johnson, played by Lisa Wilcox. Which check up in the at the card in the upper right corner of my screen. You get to see my interview I did with Lisa Wilcox, which was a fun interview. This is part of the franchise. They had a lot of rewrites of the script, time constraints, and all that stuff. So I mean, for what they had to work with, I thought it was pretty good. What I didn't like, and why it's not in the top two, is I didn't like the death of Alice's brother. Like, they ran out of their budget, they couldn't afford a death scene for him, so they made him fight and then they were ready, and then he ended up getting killed. Like, ugh. Like, that was horrible. Like, they didn't even use Robert Englund for that scene. Like, they literally just had, the flying wolves and all that. It just wasn't, a little bit. I enjoyed seeing the return of Kincaid and Kristen and, of course, Joey. But what I didn't like is they killed them all off at the same time. Plus, we didn't get Patricia Arquette as Kristen coming back. We got Tuesday Night replacing her. But I did enjoy seeing them back. I just didn't think they should have killed them off so soon. What I did like, and if you're under 18 years old, please cover your ears. That's my disclaimer for you. But what I really liked was when Joey was in his waterbed, and Freddy jumps up and ends up dragging him down and gutting him like a fish under the water, and he's like, "How's this for a wet dream?" That was pretty funny. Yeah, that was very clever. But yeah, I thought overall the movie was pretty good, and I think that if they were given, they didn't have constant rewrites of the script, they didn't have the massive time constraints, the budgetary concerns, and all that, I think this movie could have been a lot better than what it was. But for what we got, and with what the issues that they had were, I thought it was a very clever movie, and it really was pretty cool. Oh, and also a fun fact I want to get into before we wrap this and go into the number 2 spot, is that when they did the loop, when Debbie was getting killed, and they were doing the loop with Dan and Alice, I love the fact that they did the loop. That was interesting. But when I was watching it on VHS as a child, yes, VHS was the relevancy. There was no DVDs when I watched this movie for the first time. I thought my VHS was skipping. Yeah, because it was going in loop, de-loop, de-loop, de-loop. I thought my VHS something was wrong with my VHS. So I told Lisa Wilcox that in our interview. So like I said, watch the interview. She actually thought that was pretty funny, and she really enjoyed that story. So yeah, I thought this movie was okay. It could have been better, but it was good for all the issues that they had. Let's go on to number 2. What you say about that? Oh my God, you are all going to be shocked with my number 2. But yes, I'm sorry to say, it is the original 1984 A Nightmare on Elm Street, where it all began. Now let's put it this way: before we get into the movie itself, this movie saved New Line Cinema from going bankrupt. Yes, you heard me correctly. If you did not know that, New Line Cinema was on the brink of bankruptcy and was going to shut the doors for good. But Wes Craven, the director and creator of A Nightmare on Elm Street, brought his script after fishing it around us, studios, came across New Line Cinema and, gave them a pitch about the movie. They loved it. They took a gamble with it, and it brought in a lot of money, tons of money. And New Line Cinema was never the same again. They ended up bankrolling, making bank, and they ended up, they just flourished from there. And, the rest was history. We got all these sequels. So yes, we got this. And also, this is the first movie that really made Johnny Depp. Yeah, that's right, Johnny Depp was in this movie, and he had a gruesome bloodbath, so to speak. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. It is where it all began. We get introduced to Freddy. And of course, like I said, he is a child earlier in this video, but Freddy was a child murderer. He was not a child molester in this one. He was going to be, but they switched it because of the child molestation sting at around this time during production in Hollywood. And I see why they did that, because they didn't want to, add to the controversy and, add fuel to the fire, so to speak. So I understand that. Very good deaths. Very good movie. Of course, limited budget. All, movies that are definitely in the horror genre are around this time anyways are low budget films, and they are cult classic. Friday the 13th, Halloween, and of course A Nightmare on Elm Street. And this one is a cult classic. It really is great. It's where it all began, and we got an icon in Freddy, which is why we end up getting Freddy versus Jason. I mean, it's cool. It really is great that we got introduced to Freddy. I love him. And before we go on to our number 1, let me tell you one fun fact quick. This movie is actually based on true events, believe it or not. Yes, that's right. Wes Craven got the idea from this movie when he read, I forget the location, but he read about children that were scared to go to sleep, and they were telling their parents that I'm afraid I'm not going to wake up in the morning. They woke up, and they went to bed, and they didn't wake up. They died. They had scratches or slashes or whatever all over the body, and they were dead. So nobody could figure out what happened, and Wes Craven read this in some type of newspaper article, and he took that ball and he went with it. Yes, that's how we got a Nightmare on Elm Street. Fun fact for you. Now let's see, number 1. It is time to reveal the number 1 ranking on this list for the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Are you ready, Freddy? Sorry, I tickle my fancy with that joke all the time. But yeah, anyways, number 1 is A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors. Now, are you really that surprised? I mean, come on, this movie is pure perfection and gold! Gold, Freddy, gold! This movie is great. They have their dream powers that come into play. We get the return of Nancy, and I'm not saying Heather Langenkamp playing herself like in Wes Craven's The New Nightmare. Like, we get the return of Nancy Thompson from the first movie. And on top of that, she gets killed off! Oh my god, they had the balls to kill off the final girl in the first movie. Wait, did this happen before? Oh yeah, that's right. They killed off Alice Hardy in Friday the 13th Part 2, and she was the final girl in Part 1. But still, you see my point. They still killed off Nancy frickin' Thompson. But that was a shocker to me when that first happened. I couldn't believe it myself. And she was tricked by Freddy. I mean, he's such a bastard. I mean, he literally tricked Nancy by coming as her father, who was also killed off and was in the first movie. She tricked him. Freddy tricked Nancy by coming back as her father with a glowing angel light and everything on him, an angelic light, and then, bam, stabs her. And then, the rest is history. But, I mean, I thought this movie was amazing. Like, it really is great. It really is. It has a great character development, amazing storytelling. Oh, it's just, I don't know, like, I don't know what else to say about it. It's just that great, and everybody agrees with that in the community. But if you don't, please let us know in the comments. We'll get more into the business side of things on what to do, and all the stuff about this channel after this. But you just got the rankings of A Nightmare on Elm Street. I enjoyed it. I hope you had some fun. So I'll see you back in my other studio, and we'll get into some business details. See you soon, and be good people, alright? Oh, now. Bye. We just ranked Freddy Krueger and A Nightmare on Elm Street. Okay, there we go. We just ranked all 9 films. That was so cool and so much fun, and I am so glad we got to rank him. Yeah, I thought we did a good job. Don't you? You don't? Oh, you do. You don't? You do. Oh, well, if you do or you don't, tell us in the comment section below. Please do so, and like the video also if you like what you saw. And I have a signature weapon. Jason's got the machete, Michael Myers got the kitchen knife, Freddy Krueger's got the razor gloves, and I got the slash. Remember, that's right, slash that subscribe button if you like what you saw and you want to show me some love. And now, and also, hit the bell notification icon. I have to let you know that because, you want to get notified every time I, upload a video. Don't you? I mean, don't you? Interviews, original video content, what isn't there to love? And I mean, I'm a little goofy. I mean, that's kind of fun too, to make fun of me, but whatever. Okay, so yeah, and I think that's some coolness too. And I mean, I think overall we did a good job, don't you think? I think we did a nice